Hi everybody, I'm Dan and welcome back to the Rock Nerd Radio Show. I can admit when I am wrong. We are about to take a look at a figure that when I initially opened up and started messing around with, I was very disappointed with. Honestly, I thought it kind of sucked. But after playing with it, reading about it a little bit, watching a few reviews actually, I kind of came around on this figure. So let's take a look at the new Book of Boba Fett Mandalorian figure as he appeared, in the best episode of the Book of Boba Fett. Let's check it out.
Come geek out with us on the Rock Nerd Radio Show.
So here is the new Mandalorian figure as he appeared in the Book of Boba Fett. You see him spinning around in front of you, which is showing off most of the figure as well as his accessories. Now, I will say, when I initially got this figure, I was very disappointed by some of it, but after playing with it a little more, after messing around with it, I realized that maybe I was actually wrong in my initial knee-jerk assessment of this figure. So what we are going to do is we're going to take him off of the rotating display in just a moment. We'll look at his accessories, some of his articulation, and talk about why I think I was initially wrong about this figure. The first thing I want to point out about this figure is his articulation, and he does have some nice articulation for a Star Wars Black Series figure. They're always pretty good, but the head is on a ball joint, so he can tilt it all around. He can wiggle waggle, he can look left, right, up, down, whatever. That is a nice movement on the head. And as for the midsection joint, he does have the ability to move. The whole armor kind of moves with him, like the chest piece armor. So it's not the smoothest turn in the world. Mine might just be a little stuck, but it is there. There is a little up and down, like ab crunch as well. The armor definitely does impede as much movement as maybe expected, but it's not terrible. Looking at the arms, I'm going to move the cape aside for a minute. The arms have a new style armor to them where the armor moves with the arms, and when you move the arms up, the armor also moves with it, as you can see. The armor is basically connected on the inside of the arm, and there is some butterfly forward backwards there as well. My biggest complaint, I think, is that if you move the arm all the way up, the armor just kind of goes like this. Now, I guess that's what would naturally happen with armor to a degree. It's not like if you inverted your arm all the way, it's going to completely go with you. But the Marvel Legends team, in my opinion, has done a nice job of having the armor flow, like shoulder armor flow with the arm. I kind of wish we got that. The old Mandalorian figure that I have, or the old Mando that I have, the armor pieces were glued onto the arm and they would follow all the way through. But this isn't terrible. It does move a little more naturally. Now, of course, there is a single joint elbow, but there is rotation at the elbow as well. And then for the hands, they rotate, as you can see here that they are doing. And they, of course, have some in and out movement like this at the wrist. So, pretty much what you'd probably come to expect from a Star Wars Black Series figure. Moving down to the legs, of course, the legs can kick forward and back, not quite as much back. They can kick out. Again, with the Mandalorian, there's a lot of armor bits in the way, so maybe things don't move quite as well as you would expect, but they still move well. Of course, we do have thigh swivel. We have a single jointed knee, but swivel at the knee, and this armor piece here at the knee is, free flowing, so it kind of moves with the knee. Moving down to the feet, we have, of course, up, down, and side to side. So, pretty much what you've come to expect from modern action figures in terms of articulation for this figure. And that's not bad. Quite honestly, I think it's very good. Bringing in my old kind of standard Mandalorian that I've been using, he doesn't have the butterflies. Like I said, if I flip the arm, see the armor does move with the arm, but you can't get quite as much out from it. Like, it kind of has to move up on the shoulder here. I don't know which one I like better, if I'm being honest. I feel that I would have liked the armor to move with it. A little disappointed that it doesn't. Not the end of the world. The butterfly joints on the elbows or on the shoulders they're nice. I don't think I can get a lot out of it, but it's not bad. So I'm going to just take the old one down for a second and focus a little more on the new one. So the new one does come with a few accessories. Obviously, you see him holding the Darksaber, and it is painted very nicely. It is, this nice black with the white outline. It does come off of the hilt, So if you wanted to disconnect it, you can. It's definitely a little bit of a pull. But what I do want to point out is on the hilt, there is this little tiny hole right here. There we go. I can focus on it. And on the Mandalorian's belt, in the back of him, I'm actually going to take the jetpack off and just kind of flip the cape up. There is a little hook right here, and you can hang the Darksaber hilt on it just like that if you want. I honestly like him to hold the Darksaber, so he's going to be holding that. And to reconnect it, very simple, just kind of plug it back in like that. So there's the Darksaber. You saw me take the jetpack off. This is the jetpack. Pretty standard for what you probably have gotten in the past. It connects via a couple ports on the back of the figure, so you can just snap it back on if you want, like that. It does look pretty good. He does have a cloth goods cape, and you know, I like that because I feel like the cape has never sat really well when it's hard plastic on the Mandalorian figures. But with the jetpack, I don't know what to do with it. I feel like no matter what I do, the cape ends up looking like it's sitting on top of something, which it is. And I don't know. I can't find a good way to really have the cape hang and make it look natural. I guess this is about as close as I can get. He also has a blaster that's in the holster here. I'll take it out for a moment. There we go. I think my biggest complaint with this figure is that the hands are a little too small for the weapons. Like, this blaster is pretty loose if I put it in this hand, and in this hand, it fits well enough. It actually fits better in this hand, and this hand does have a trigger finger on it. So, you know, if you're going to have him hold the blaster, this is probably the hand you're going to want to go with, and then you can have him hold the Darksaber in this hand. This hand, though, that I just put the Darksaber in, it's not a tight fit. The Darksaber is a little loose in his hand. It can kind of just easily come in and out. Like, there's very little friction here. So, yeah, he holds it. It's not the tightest fit. It kind of bothers me that it's not that tight of a fit. And I just kind of feel like for the gun hand, you know, instead of the wrist swiveling left and right, it does pivot up and down, which I think is very nice. I think that's better to see when you have a you know, trigger hand, because it can kind of hold the blaster better. The one last accessory to point out is there is a vibro knife down here in the boot. This is too small for any of his hands to hold. I just want to make that clear. And it kind of bothered me when I first took the figure out of the package, because I almost lost this a few times. And it took me a while to realize that there is a hole. I don't know if I can get the lighting just right, but there is a hole in his boot cut that the knife can slide into. But it took me a long time to figure out that was there. And as you can see, getting that knife in there isn't the easy. It's a very tight fit. It's not the easiest thing. You might end up bending the knife, so just do be careful. Do make sure that if you're putting it in there, you're not bending it too much. One thing that I do like is in terms of the holster for his blaster, there's no like extra pouch that you have to like connect down or anything. It just fits in the pouch, sits there. There's nothing else that I need to fold down. So that looks pretty good in my opinion. And honestly, even though it's a trigger hand, I put the Darksaber in this hand because of the way the fingers are curled, it holds the Darksaber tighter. And I personally feel like that looks a little better. I just kind of have the second hand empty, which is fine. I'm going to bring back up the other Mandalorian that I have on my shelf for a moment. Now, this was the Target Ultimate version one. This helmet actually pops off. There we go. You can see the Pedro Pascal head. Now, just looking at these two helmets, I did see some people online saying that the two helmets are a little different in the fact that the new one seems to be a bit of a wider black look visor to it, and you can kind of see that it is a little wider. I think the difference is more apparent on other Mandalorian figures. This one actually looks pretty good. I have this Mandalorian holding the Darksaber that came with Moff Gideon, and it looks fine. I think the new one has some brighter white to it. You can kind of see that outline a little better. But this one I do have holding his, I don't even know what to call this weapon, but maybe that's something that I give to the new one, because I'm not going to have two versions of the Mandalorian on my shelf. This one, like I was complaining about before, has the that little like part that needs to go over the holster to keep the gun in place. And he does have a hard plastic cape, which really does look a little silly when you're posing it over the jacket. But I do feel like this one, the armor isn't quite as tough to move, so I do get a little more movement out of the old one here. So like you can see, he's kind of, let me probably get him on camera. But like he can wiggle, waggle a little bit better, in my opinion. And yeah, so that's just how I feel about that one. They're both fine figures. I mean, I don't know that I needed to upgrade to the new one. I know that when the Hasbro team initially was talking about the new one, I kind of said to myself, like, oh, you know, they were talking about the new armor style with it and things like that. And I thought to myself, like, oh, that could be really cool. I think I want to do that. And the soft goods cape definitely led me to want to own this one. I don't think either of these are bad figures, but I don't know if I necessarily needed to upgrade. And in a year that I'm really thinking about cutting back on purchases, I don't know that this Mandalorian was necessary for me to buy. So there's just my couple, 2 cents about it. Quick 10-minute-ish review. Let me know what you think of this figure in your comments below. Let me know, are you like Frankensteining parts and pieces to have your Ultimate Mandalorian on your shelf? I would love to hear your ideas and your thoughts. And until next time, I've been Dan. You've been pretty awesome. I'll see you later.